For the first time, Trek has an aero bike with disc brakes. But the big story with the Madone SLR is the adjustability. There's IsoSpeed now tucked under the top tube that is adjustable, and there's also some adjustability in the cockpit. So this is a bike where I think the rider greatly benefits from having a pro shop interaction. So by starting with the fit, starting from the bottom bracket and the rider position, everything else can fall into place from there. Now, I think it's important for two reasons. One, a good fit is paramount on whatever type of bike you're riding, but it's especially important with an aero bike where making adjustments is quite difficult. With the new bike, you can rotate the handlebars plus minus 5 degrees, which is a good thing, but the handlebar width and stem length are fixed, obviously, and with all the routing done internally, you need to be darn sure of your measurements before you sign off on that purchase order. One cool thing that Trek has now is a saddle pressure mapping device that is done with a German company called Gebiomized. I got to use that at the Trek Waterloo headquarters in getting fitted for my test bike, and I appreciated how you can see the changes in pressure over pedaling intensities. So for instance, just sitting on a bike, like I'm sitting on this stool, your pressure will look one way. Once you start putting some pressure on the pedals, however, things change a bit, and that's where you want to dial in your fit for when you're riding. So Trek can help you with that. Get everything fit based on the bottom bracket, and then from there you can adjust your stack and reach coordinates. Another fit point to note here, the Madone SLR comes in a new H1.5. Now if you're familiar with Trek's jargon, H and the number refers to the fit characteristics in terms of height, stack and reach. The H1 is the ultra low pro fit. H2 is the taller fit that works better for most of us. The H1.5, as you probably guess, sits roughly in the middle of the two. Now, whether this was done just to reduce model numbers for Trek dealers or for the benefit of the rider, I don't know. But for me personally, I like that 1.5 where it ends up putting me, because the H1 is too low for me. The H2 feels too high for an aero bike. When you put a premium on reducing aero drag, and then you raise up your handlebars, kind of defeats the point. So I think this H1.5 is a good thing. Let's talk IsoSpeed. If you're not familiar, IsoSpeed is Trek's compliance technology, and it's basically a flexing tube or set of tubes. Now, Trek introduced this in the Delaney. There's a pivot at the seat tube cluster, and in the new adjustable IsoSpeed on the Delaney, you can move a slider up and down to increase or decrease the amount of flex in that seat tube and the resulting comfort or compliance that you feel at the saddle. With the Madone SLR, Trek has the same concept, but instead of it being one straight line from the seat mast down through the seat tube, it is now an L-shaped system from the seat mast and then going forward into the top tube. And the same principle applies of having flex in the system, and now you can control it by adjusting a slider fore and aft underneath the top tube, and that effectively controls how much flex the whole system has. So you move it all the way forward, and you've got a lot more flex. You move it all the way back, less flex. To quantify that, Trek pins that number on. You get 17% more compliance than on the existing Madone, which has IsoSpeed, but not adjustable. And you can adjust it when set all the way back to 21% stiffer. So how does it feel to ride? Pretty good. It is a fast and quiet machine. There's no doubt about that. One nice thing about aero machines with everything internally routed and everything nice and taut is that they are quiet moving through the air. It's most noticeable going from a standard road bike and then hopping right on an aero bike. In terms of the bump absorption, IsoSpeed works in the softest setting. It's a Cadillac-like ride. I've been testing the bike with 25 mil tires. You can fit up to 28 officially, although you can squeeze in a 32 tire. One thing I appreciate about the soft setting is how it feels calmer at speed. So I've been doing most of the rides on your run-of-the-mill pavement that's sometimes smooth, sometimes chunky, but then also a little bit on dirt. And the bike feels almost glued to the ground coming around kind of some choppier corners. So that's a way a bike can help you go faster, is when you feel more confident and you feel more relaxed. I think you're able to go faster than if you're feeling skittish, like you're bouncing across the surface. One potential downside to having a lot of flex is that some of that flex can be rider induced and not just ground induced. For instance, on the Delaney, sometimes I've felt almost like the tires going soft when doing a sprint while seated, because having your body bouncing up and down can cause the thing to flex a little bit too. So I could see how for pro riders, they might not like having that sense of give all the time. And that's part of why it's adjustable, because Trek has decided that there's no one perfect system for all riders, but by having an adjustable system, all riders can get their bike to feel the way they want it to. To quantify bumpiness and comfort, Trek did some pretty cool things. For one, they constructed an enormous treadmill in their shop in Waterloo, Wisconsin. Then to replicate outdoor conditions, they went forth and measured outdoor conditions, going as far as to pour a mold of a section of cobbles in the Arnberg Forest, which is part of the Paris-Roubaix course. Bringing this mold back to their shop, they 3D scanned it, and from there replicated those bumps exactly on their treadmill. To measure the effect of said bumps on the bike and rider, Trek put instrumentation all over a bike in various spots, accelerometers to measure movement, under the saddle, at the rear hub, at the bottom bracket, different areas. They also took 3D motion capture, various spots on the bike, various spots on the rider, and with all that in place, they could then measure the effect of making changes in frames, whether that was moving the IsoSpeed adjustment, or different prototype layups, or tire pressure, tire width, etc. Trek also has a number of other, perhaps less dramatic, but equally as important tests, such as fatigue tests for the various parts of the frame, like running 270 pounds at the seat mast for 100,000 cycles, measuring hundreds of pounds of pressure through a replicated crank left and right for 100,000 cycles. So how Aero is it? Well, Trek will of course tell you that this one is faster than the last one, and that one was the fastest one that there was. The Trek Madone SLR, Trek measured against the Specialized Vias, which is now the outgoing Aero bike for Specialized. Trek claims that this SLR is faster than that, the old Vias, that is. In terms of weight, it isn't the lightest thing in the world. It's 7.4 kilos or 16.5 pounds in this Dura-Ace Di2 9170 configuration. It also comes in a rim bike version. The main change there is, of course, the adjustable IsoSpeed under the top tube, but also a small change of moving the brake caliper to behind the fork. And that bike is a little bit lighter. Top end build is 7.1 kilos. As it turns out, bicycles are like your life. You cannot have it all. But with the Trek Madone SLR, you can have an extremely fast, comfortable, and adjustable machine. There are 9 models of the new Madone, including 2 women's models. There are also some really cool paint jobs. And Trek has expanded its Project One paint catalog to include something called Icon, which is for now exclusive to the Madone family. There are things like the reflective paint job that has a reflective 3M logo that pops under light. There is a really cool design called Prismatic Pearl, which has seemingly thousands of colors and changes based upon the angle of the light and the angle of the bike to your eye. To check all these out, head on over to BikeRadar.com.